Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Um, so today in Passages in Pranayama, I want to get into this is it's not the prophet Khalil Gibran's Here in a Smile. This is if you know Khalil Gibran, you know what the deal is, right? Really beautiful poetry, essays. Tear in a Smile is the I understand, the prophet's amazing, of course, just entirely, but A Tear in a Smile is one that just always moves me, although I'm not reading that today. So this is actually The Abode of Happiness, and there's a lot of parallels. I mean, of course, Gibran, uh, he's a poet, and he speaks a lot of love. There's a real Upanishadic feel to some of his poetry. Some of that like early kind of Vedantic, uh, prose that kind of seem to weave their way through his poetry. I'm not sure if he ever studied Vedanta or any type of yoga essentially, or school of thought based off of the Vedas or not. I'm not sure, but some of it really comes through. This one actually reminds me of two different things. Three different things, right? I already talked about the Upanishads. You look at like the Taittiriya Upanishad, something like that. Some of the same language seems to come up over and over again. The Yoga Sutra specifically, because the part of this poem that I really want to dig into deals with contentment. So in the Niyamas Contentment in chapter 2, 242, maybe 242. And then that third one, something I talked about a few weeks ago, though not the chapter on contentment, is the Ashtavakra Samhita. Right? So the Ashtavakra Samhita has a whole chapter, The Abode of Happiness by Khalil Gibran. My heart was weary within me and bade me farewell, and repaired to the abode of happiness. And when it was come to that sanctuary which the Spirit had sanctified, it stood in wonderment, for it saw not there things it had imagined. It saw not their power or wealth, nor yet authority. It saw not save the youth of beauty and his companion, the daughter of love, and their child wisdom. Then my heart spoke to the daughter of love and said, where is contentment, O love? I had heard that it shared with you this dwelling. And she answered, contentment is away preaching in the city, where is corruption and greed. We're not in need of it in this place. Happiness desires not contentment, for happiness is naught but a longing that union embraces. Contentment is a diversion conquered by forgetfulness. The immortal soul is not contented, for it is ever desiring of perfection, and perfection is infinite. And my heart spoke to the youth of beauty and said, show to me the secret of woman, O beauty, and enlighten me, for you are knowledge. He said, she is you, human heart, and as you were, so was she. She is I, and wheresoever I be, there is she. She is as a religion when the ignorant profane it not, as a full moon when clouds do not hide it, as the breeze untouched by corruption and impurity. Then my heart drew near to wisdom, the daughter of love and beauty, saying, give me wisdom that I may carry to humankind. She answered, say that happiness begins in the holy of holies of the spirit, come not from without. Okay, so it's beautiful, Gibran, So we're going to deal with the section on contentment, although there is wisdom throughout. Because first, let's look at it in the backdrop of the Yoga Sutra. As I mentioned, what I believe is chapter 2, the 42nd sutra, though I might be wrong on that. It goes something like this. Contentment is the truest form of happiness, right? Contentment leads to true happiness. So, right in Patanjali's yoga, it's not about learning to be happy. Like in all of the practices of yoga, we should be really mindful of any of the emotions that we might have. Like in the Brahma Sutra, right, there's certain passages or commentary, I should say, on passages that actually teach us to, dampen. Not that we shouldn't feel happy, right? The intensity that we might feel in the most extreme of emotions that deal with, that we typically feel as good, right? So happiness and love. If they overcome us, then we're more likely because life is balanced, right? I always say, never, everything is always held in balance. So we're going to experience happiness and love in our lives, and we're also going to experience sadness, despair in our lives as well. With the amount of intensity that we embrace that love and happiness, the mirror of that will also take place, right? So with that amount of intensity, we will also experience, right, sadness and despair, right? So we have to keep things kind of in check. Again, it's not as if we're not supposed to experience our emotions. I always kind of draw that line between stoicism and yoga. The line's dark. It's a dark line. It's not faint. But we're humans. We have these emotions. We're supposed to feel them, but we're also supposed to learn from them. We're also supposed to learn how to deal with them or handle them, right? It's like a wild horse that we're attempting to tame when it comes to emotions. So when it comes to happiness, Patanjali says, don't worry about happiness. Let's work on contentment. Let's work on not just being okay with what is, right? Because sometimes we're at a very difficult place in life, right? But learning to, embrace, the good and the bad equally, and be okay with it. All right. Then my heart spoke to the daughter of love and said, where is contentment, O love? City, where there is corruption and greed, we're not in need of it in this place. So, what does the city represents? Right, because it's not it's not about an actual city. Right, those of you that might be in Philadelphia represents, and he states right there, corruption and greed. I want to say yes, corruption and greed. Right, the place where corruption and greed dwell. In this poem, it seems that Gibran is trying to draw this line between those things that we view outside of us. It's very yogic in that way, right? So we think that we're drawing on happiness from the things that come from without. As a matter of fact, the last line, the very last line, he says, asking about, what wisdom can you give me? Say that happiness begins in the Holy of Holies of the Spirit and comes not from without. Over and over again in the practice of yoga, we see that, right, happiness, it's about how long our happiness lasts, but we should not desire happiness, of course. Right? So it's not about how long, if like the more you spend on something, the longer happiness actually lasts. Right? Like eat a bowl of ice cream, it's good, it's delicious while you're eating it, but when it's gone, you're missing it. Right? It's not there. The happiness that it brought you is you go and buy a car, say you buy like a $70,000 car. And sure, every time you get into it, maybe, if it's a high-performing car or something like that, you really enjoy it, then maybe, right, it brings you happiness in those moments. But I bet after some time, you're getting in that car a little bit less, a little more mindless, right? Less mindful of the joy that it actually brings you, or the happiness that it brings you. I don't want to use the word joy there, because joy is a state, in yoga at least, right? It's not an emotion. So anyway. So, happiness is, this wisdom, and where contentment lies is not in the things that we acquire, but instead it is a state of being, of who we are. It's like that state of joy I was just talking about. So the practice, like all the yamas and niyamas in the Yoga Sutra, like each one of them is a practice. We practice being content with what we've got. Like, that's a great gift, and sometimes a very difficult exercise. In today's climate, right, of social media, it's been proven over and over again that we see whatever, oh man, this person's traveling, this person's going out, they're with their friends, right? So, that's something, as yogis, right, if you're out there watching, I suggest, right, this is a practice. I need to change who you are to become somebody else. Now, you've always got to be you. I'm like really running over time here, so let me get on this. Okay, so the city where corruption and greed, corruptions of the mind is something Patanjali or some translators call the kleshas. Right? This is ignorance of the mind, the veils of the mind. So we have to overcome our own ignorance. Right? So oftentimes oftentimes we're looking outwards, we're looking to what other people are doing, as I was just saying. And we're not seeing like all the things that we could potentially do. We're getting caught in somebody else's world. Be in your own world. Okay. So, moving on. Okay. Happiness desires not. So, like, where is contentment? My daughter is like learning piano. So this isn't my own personal experience here, just so you know. I don't know really anything about piano. I can play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I've learned some parts of some songs that she's helped me with. and oftentimes she gets really frustrated when she's practicing piano. But there's these moments. Really, go practice whatever. Don't worry about your songs. Just go practice whatever. And she's in here and she's like making music. And it's just coming off the top of her head. It's just and so often she'll be like, oh, I can't believe that the time was up. And she wasn't being like kind of forced into learning the main principles of piano, but instead just kind of like feeling music. And this is the unification that Gibran's kind of talking about here, right? To being like unified. Today, a lot of you know, right? I love marble and granite, and porcelain and ceramics. But when I'm in it and I'm like really feeling it, the job is, I'm not going to say perfect, right? Because it's an impossibility. But the way I feel when I'm doing it's very like being in that state when you're practicing your yoga, right? And the mind is just absorbed in it. You're unified with the work. And I strongly suggest you do the same, right? Whatever work that you might do, it doesn't matter how mundane you might think it is. It's important to you, your health, and it's important to the people that it will affect. And right now, if you are, unfortunate, and you may have lost your job, find work to do. And I bet you, right? I bet you that if you don't have a lot going on right now, that there is purpose in your life. You just have to look for it. That's all you've got to do. Right? So if it's just like caring for a cat, caring for your dwelling, that is important. Right? Because and how you make your space look, for instance, is a reflection of your spirit. It doesn't always have to be perfectly clean, by the way, right? Right? Perfection is an impossibility. But keep it neat, keep it tidy. Right? And again, that will, one, you do find purpose, right? There's meaning to it. You will find contentment from that practice of keeping things clean. But also, again, it's a reflection of your own spirit. All right? You keep your outer and inner home clean and nice. All right. Simple pranayama today. All right, let's keep it simple. Samavriti pranayama. So we're going back a few weeks. We practiced Samavriti. I'll always return to this because it is very basic and essential. 4 count inhales, 4 count exhales. We're going to do that for 5 rounds, but we'll be relax your face, your eyes, and your jaw. Let's first inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. With control, inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. And inhale, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And exhale. Good. And gently blink your eyes open. Good. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this talk and pranayama. Have a wonderful day and be sure to take care of yourself and others. Peace.